This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla in the new full Battle Rattle studios.
I realize that sudden and relentless reform never sits well with entrenched interests and power brokers. That's why true reform is so hard to achieve. But with the support of the citizens of Alaska, we shook things up.
A rough time for Americans as two historic hurricanes plow through. Today we talk about our mental health during times like these. How do we cope? How do we talk to kids about it? How do we deal with loss? Our great friend Dr. Karen Ruskin is here, a psychotherapist and marriage and family therapist. Dr. Ruskin will give us insight on how to deal with Harvey, Irma, and the aftermath. Plus, we'll have the latest national and Alaska headlines and Sarah Palin news. We'll visit the Crow's Nest with Tanya Crow in California, and a brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Kolbert coming up from Texas. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio, available at mamagrizzlyradio.com and now available at sarahpalin.com by clicking the More tab. The Palin Update is sponsored by Full Battle Rattle. Full Battle Rattle, helping veterans suffering from combat-related disabilities through the healing power of music. Learn more at facebook.com/fullbattlerattle.abq. Now we welcome in psychotherapist and marriage and family therapist Dr. Karen Ruskin. She is the author of the awesome and extremely helpful 10 Seconds to Mental Health and other books. She's a Mama Grizzly, and she's here to talk about dealing with these hurricanes in America. And right now we do welcome Dr. Karen Ruskin back to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Doctor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on your show again. I wish it, of course, were for something that would be lighter circumstances.
Well, I know, and I do enjoy talking to you about all things. And, we always have you on a serious topic, but I did think of you right away with what's going on with the weather situation, these hurricanes, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, so much of the United States affected, and people talking about, obviously, the tangible damage that they could see, talking about injuries, deaths, the weather itself, but, the mental aspect, this is far-reaching, the people that are in it, people watching it on television, adults, children, and I thought of you right away to try to figure out, how you talk about it, how you get through it, so first, I want to talk about, obviously, those that are directly affected, people that, let's say they heeded the warnings and went and evacuated, and they're safe as far as their physical body. But when you're losing a home, when you don't know what's going to happen, how tough of a strain is that, and how can people cope?
Yeah, so thank you so much for asking me and having me on. As a psychotherapist, we don't always get to talk about the fun things. We are called in when there's a trauma or a challenge, something that the need for coping tools. And so to bring me in on this, I'm so glad. I'd love to be able to speak to the families out there. Here's the first coping tool to know. Number one, whatever has happened to your stuff, please remember your stuff is not your identity. Your stuff is not you. You are you, and you will be able to rebuild again. And even though what I'm stating, people know. I'm not saying anything that isn't a new fact, but reminding people of that is so imperative, because when we lose our stuff, whether it's photos, whether it's our actual home, whatever it is, it's clothing items, jewelry, things that are memorable, things that we've worked hard for. Please remember that if you have you and your family, really, that truly is all that matters.
I think one of the most really dramatic things here with these line of storms is that, people are obviously still dealing very seriously with Harvey, and that's going to go on a long time, but President Trump just this past weekend talking about Irma, saying, quote, "We've never seen anything like this." And it feels like we were just saying that about Harvey. So to be hit back to back like this, you don't have to be in Texas or Florida to feel this, right? Even if the weather isn't affecting you or your home or your person directly. I mean, there's people out in the West Coast or in the Midwest who are watching this on television, and it's having an effect on people.
Yes, it does. Not only people who are literally there in the environment, there's outside of the environment, and that's what you're talking about. And thank you for asking about that, Kevin, because it has a large systemic effect, ranging from family coming together, and this is such a wonderful thing to do, come together and have your family or a friend stay at your home if they are being evacuated so they don't have to feel like they're so alone. Or if someone is experiencing anxiety, it could be your child, it could be you, it could be a friend, even though you're so far away. For an example, here in Massachusetts, there was a day that it was going to be raining, and people started to get nervous that, the rain might be really bad because we might be getting some, rainy, windy rain coming from what's been going on elsewhere. And so here we are so far away, and there's this nervousness about rain that normally you wouldn't be worried about. You might change your plans that day. You might not go into the office that day. People get affected. And so the key to remember is it's so important to be aware of what you're feeling, talk it out, and continue to live your life productively, not let it freeze you. There are some people that respond to anxiety by freezing. Other people respond to anxiety by taking action. And so understanding what's going on and taking action is the healthiest way to deal with stressors and scary, worry feelings rather than freezing or rather than getting upset and reacting.
And what about children, those outside of the states? I mean, those in it, obviously, there's no hiding what's going on, and they're going through a whole another serious type of situation. But, you can hide them from the gory details as far as people passing or as far as, the things that they don't have to know. But it doesn't matter how young they are. You're not going to avoid this. I mean, they're even hearing about it in positive ways as far as people donating or having clothing drives or things at their schools or at churches or synagogues or wherever they may be. They're hearing about it, the television, obviously, and everywhere else. So what about a child? I mean, you could be in a state, like you said, far away from all of this, but kids might think, wait, is this going to happen here? And when? And could it happen here? So how do you talk to kids, especially the young ones?
Yes, so whether you're an adult or a child, we all experience the feeling of vulnerability when something painful, traumatic, or challenging is happening to somebody else. And we then question whether that same thing is going to happen to us. So for parents to be able to reassure their children and talk with them, not at them, and provide education. In essence, instead of sheltering them, have them be involved. Go online with your child or your children and learn more about what's going on and how you can make a difference. For it is when we're uninformed and we try and hide and shelter from the reality of what's going on that children will build up in their minds worries beyond the reality of what even is. So validating what they're feeling, education, talking with them, not at them, and reassuring them are the key tools to communicating and to helping your child cope with and respond in a healthy way. Also, you can educate them about the different personality reactions to this type of challenge. You can say, hey, there are some people who freeze up when they're hearing something scary is going on. Other people, personality styles is to ignore it. The third personality style is to be interested and learn about it and perhaps take action and get involved. And the final fourth is to get upset and experience anxiety and react. How do you think your personality style is? Which one of these is you? And how can I help you, my dear child, to respond in a way that makes you feel stable when things happening around you and to others might be so unstable? So through the education and helping them, and not only obviously is that for children, that's for adults too, but specifically with your question, that's how parents can help their children.
Is it important how leaders act and how they speak in times like this for other people and how other people may feel through it? Obviously President Trump and Governors Scott and Abbott, I think have done a pretty good job and, talking to the people, addressing what's going on, getting help to the people. But the way this is handled and the way this is perceived. I mean, people are seeing images, they're hearing things. Short question is it important for our leaders to step up during a time like this in order to keep everybody sane?
Not only is it important for leaders to step up during a time like this, it's imperative, and that's exactly what they should be doing. And I'm so thankful to see that is what's going on, because our leaders, by that very title, they are role models for us, and to see involvement reminds us of the importance of us getting involved too. And people get involved in different ways, right? Some people mightn't get involved by volunteering their time, physically taking action and doing something, donating. Someone else, it might be financial. Someone else, it might be emotional. We all have our tools in our toolbox, and however a leader provides their time, their effort, their energy is of value and is important, because really our country overall needs that, whether you're in the state, whether you're out of the state. To see a leader getting involved and taking action is a reminder of what we all need to be doing. But what it also does is it allows a sense of feeling stable and safe, that our leader and our leaders are here for us and come together and join in order to help. And that's what we should all be doing, whether this topic or any other topic that arises, coming together. That's the key. And I like when I see our leaders doing that, because that's exactly what we need to be doing. Do we not?
And acting swiftly here, I think, resonates too, right? I mean, President Trump and Vice President Pence, as far as the Texas situation, they were there right away. And you even heard people who may have said something else a couple months ago, paraphrasing here. But I heard one woman, basically say, "I don't agree with him on much. I didn't vote for him, but this is my president." After him being on the ground with them like that. And again, obviously, any president's going to go to a disaster site at some point, but for them to be there right away like that, I thought was big.
Well, he's a pure example of, when we talk about those personality types that I was mentioning to you before, he's the take action type, isn't he? Interested and takes action. So when you talk about swiftness, that just makes sense within why, in essence, he is the president of the United States, because that's what our country needed, right? Someone who's interested in what's going on in the country and takes action. And so now he's shown that in this particular example. He showed it in other ways as well, but, we're in a country where some people agree with him, some people disagree, some people feel confidence in him, some people don't. But that quality, that character, that interested in take action, that is something that we've been seeing time and time again.
All right. Well, Dr. Ruskin, it is always a pleasure to talk to you and have you on. Your insight is very important. I hope people, really listen to your words, because some of it sounds so simple, but to apply it is another thing. And it's funny, you talk to kids one way, but a lot of adults need to be talked to during a time like this, too, because it is stressful on everyone. I think your words are very important, and I appreciate talking to another fellow parent of a quarterback.
Ah, nice. Exactly. My pleasure.
Doctor, we'd love to have you on again, and thanks so much for your time as always.
Anytime.
For more on Karen Ruskin, head to drkarenruskin.com. That's drkarenruskin.com. Now it's time for Sarah Palin News, headlines, and more about Governor Palin. Happy birthday, Todd Palin. The Browns finally stand up, the heroes of Texas. God bless all of our first responders out in Texas. Praying for all those affected by the devastating storms. We need more bold leaders who will fight for all of us in the U.S. Senate. We need to secure the border. Rounding up a motley crew of Antifa wackos. King of Beers to the rescue. Houston looters deserve everything coming to them. Praying for a fallen police officer in Houston. You're fired. The teacher who called kids in Trump shirts Nazis is shown the door. More bad news for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Virtue signaling corporations are failing when? Join us in Omaha, Saturday, September 23rd. This from Sarah Palin. At least I'm not the only one targeted by online scammers and fake ads. If you see an ad for a skincare product I'm supposedly hawking, don't click on it. It's a lie and a scam. Trump doing what we elected him to do. And what the heck? This devastates the spirit of those who want to trust that our government works for us, and those who crave justice for the innocents. What a horrible decision this is. Let us not stand for the choice our DOJ just made. This is unacceptable. To read about all of these stories, visit the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety and to read her devotionals, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page. Follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and don't miss the new sarahpalin.com. Now let's head to the crow's nest. Here's Tanya Crow.
Thanks, Kevin. So I just want to take a moment to give my thoughts and my prayers and all my love to those in Texas and Louisiana, just to let them know what an inspiration they have been to us as a nation, of what the fabric of this country is made of. So my daughter is going into second grade this year, and I live in California, as you know. And the teacher for this year brought in a progressive program to the classroom called a tribes program. And their little statement at the end is finding our way to the future. And it's so fascinating to see that the words that she used in our back to school night, where she's explaining to the parents what her goals and aspirations are for the class, are all about cooperation. You know, who doesn't want their child to learn cooperation? It's very important. But there's a very distinct difference between cooperation and cooperativeness and collectivism. And I don't know that this teacher quite knows the difference. And that the use of cooperation as a quality is slightly manipulated and used to facilitate collectivism. So I made sure at the end of this back to school night just to let her know that I'm very much into individualism, and sure that individualism is revered and honored and respected. But I just thought I would share with you the tribe norms. Number 1, attentive listening. Number 2, no put downs. Number 3, right to pass. And number 4, confidentiality. But I want to focus a little bit on these first 3. Attentive listening, paying close attention to one another's words and feelings, giving another caring respect and consideration. I do find it interesting that when it comes to the educational system, as it progresses greater and greater from elementary into middle school, into high school, into the college campuses, that this attentive listening becomes smaller and smaller of a capacity for those that attend. Number 2, no put downs. Avoiding negative remarks, name calling, and hurtful gestures and behaviors. Well, isn't that interesting that the left, one of the first things that they use when it comes to a discourse with an opposing opinion or idea or view is name calling and put downs. Number 3, right to pass, choosing when and to what extent you will participate in group activities. Recognizing that each person has the right to control himself, though within a group setting. So isn't that interesting that they're already, and being authoritative when it comes to choosing when and to what extent you will participate in the group, so that it's even emphasized whether you're participating or not. So even though they're saying, yes, you have the right to pass, but there's an emphasis on what you're doing in the collective, so that in the end, if as a collective they want to then put you down, like what they're doing with these, for instance, transgender pronouns. Now they're talking about a kindergartner that got ostracized and put down for using the wrong pronoun for a child that was a boy, and now is wanting and desiring to be called a girl. And in my own daughter's classroom, now that I'm seeing this program being instituted, which I have to keep a very close eye on, because these are where the seeds are planted, where collectivism becomes the desired norm. And that is a real problem for me. And we have to be our own advocates for our own kids, that's for sure. This is Tanya Crow with Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tanya Crow on Mama Grizzly Radio. More from the Crow's Nest next week.
Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Kolbert.
This week kicks off with Patriots' Day, the anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And every year I replay where I was, what I was thinking, what was happening in my life that was suddenly less important after the towers fell than on September 10th. I think about Todd Beamer and his fellow passengers thwarting the flight that went down in the Pennsylvania field and then the Pentagon. But I have had the distinct privilege over the last 4 years of living in Texas and working for the Convention of States project here. And our main Senate sponsor this session, the man who led us to our victory, Senator Brian Birdwell, is a 9/11 survivor from the Pentagon. He's amazing. He's a Christian man, and every opportunity that I have to work directly with him or listen to him in a hearing has been a constant reminder of bravery and courage in the face of insurmountable odds. Friday, September 15, is Article 5 Day, the day in history when Colonel George Mason at the Constitutional Convention instructed his fellow attendees to add the second part of Article 5 that gives the states the duty and the right to stand up against the federal government through the amendment proposal process known as a Convention of the States. Courage, are you kidding me? Senator Birdwell took on a 757 with his face and he won. Can you believe it? What our founders went through to create a new nation. I mean, they took on the most powerful military the world had ever seen, the British, and they believed they could win. Powerful, inspiring leadership, sacrifice, and honor. Those are the examples that we should be showing the younger generations. Those are the examples we want them to emulate, rather than the Colin Kaepernickels and those other anthem sitters. Those aren't examples. Antifa's not an example. They're thugs. They're distractions. This weekend, though, I'm thinking about a courage that will be stronger than changing the course of history for a nation, but in fact will be changing the course of history for a single person. And that is that I found out this week that my best friend of 31 years was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer that has now spread to her liver. When I read the words of her text a few days ago, it was like someone sucker punched me right in the gut. I literally had to read them out loud multiple times to comprehend what she was telling me. Let's talk courage at 49 years old. I spent my weekend talking with her for hours, like we used to do in college, and was struck by her level of maturity and positivity as she was putting her flaming sword to the test and ready to slay this giant cancer. But as she and I talked, our conversation naturally moved to the faith category. Because quite frankly, when a giant stands in front of you, any victory is not because of you doing anything, but it's because God is carrying you piggyback toward the victory and giving you the courage not just to stand and face that giant, but to believe you can win like David did, right? And Christ, our greatest example of courage in overwhelming odds. But I believe that the epitome of courage is anyone willing to follow the will of God in the face of the greatest hostility and antagonism, like the 4 men of Benghazi, our 4 heroes. I read a quote today that courage is not the absence of fear, but the acquired ability to move beyond it. John Wayne said, courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway. Well, Sherry's saddling up. And this week she faces the biopsy giant that will confirm the type of cancer. And a few days later, she'll be saddled up and meeting her chemotherapy giant. And she'll be the girl with the sword big enough to conquer that too. I keep thinking about what Jesus said in John 16:33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In the world, you will have trouble and suffering, but have courage because I have conquered the world. Heroes are made when the courageous rise to do the hard things. And Americans do hard things. We find cures for cancer. Thousands of men and women around the world wake up every day believing they will find the cure for cancer or autism or Crohn's disease or whatever. Their perseverance and persistence makes them courageous. So when we step out of our comfort zone to dream, achieve, create, and innovate, we are courageous. And for some of us, that first step is the most frightening and difficult. I look at President Trump and I pray for him and his success because he's earned my respect for the courage he's shown with the entire deck of corrupt cards on Capitol Hill stacked against him and those collaborating to pursue his demise. And he still faces every day with courage of conviction. On the battlefield of life, it takes more than just being the last person standing, as though dumb luck just helped you survive. I don't believe in luck. I believe in leadership, faith, and the ability to choose to do the right thing at the moment in your life that will define you as a person. That is your legacy. I believe that millions of us are rising up, and that generations from now, our children and grandchildren will look back on this time and reflect on our courage and what that must have taken for us to oppose the easy route of big government, oppression, and tyranny. Oh yes, and that's an easy pathway. The freedom pathway of self-governance, self-control, discipline, and honor is extraordinarily challenging, and it's rare. But we can only have those things when we achieve a level of sacrifice and service above self. When I think about my best friend facing the giant with her sword of positivity, faith, and the full armor of God, it reminds me that I need to polish up my own armor and my own sword to be ready for whatever challenge comes my way that I am divinely inspired to take. It is time for us to re-energize and gain the strength needed to do those hard things, the cure for whatever, facing the giant that is someone opposed to what you are doing, opposing or going against a tyrannical government. God bless you this week. Sherry, my prayers and love are with you, my new hero, Giant Slayer. No fear. With God, you're fearless. Please, everyone, keep Sherry in your prayers for her healing and her courage. You can always tweet me a message for her at Tamara Kolbert, hashtag Mama Grizz Radio. May God bless you this week. I'm Tamara Kolbert for Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tamara Kolbert in Texas. Tune in for more Liberty and Legacy next week. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy, and The Crow's Nest is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also available at sarahpalin.com by clicking the More tab. Like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Tamara Kolbert, at Tanya Yoga 13, and at FBR ABQ. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to breitbart.com/columnists/Kevin-Scholla. I'm also contributing to sarahpalin.com. Please check out my latest piece this week. Visit sarahpalin.com/author/Kevin-Scholla. Honored to be working on the governor's new site. I want to thank Tamara Kolbert, Tanya Crow, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Dr. Karen Ruskin. And thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, Full Battle Rattle. Visit facebook.com/FullBattleRattle, ABQ. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lori Ann Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update right here on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.